أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We're going to dive into an ancient story from the Qur'an, a really powerful story about a civilization and a truly devastating storm. But this isn't just a history lesson, it's actually a mirror, a deep, profound reflection on our own ego and the hidden forces that are shaping our inner lives every single day.
Just listen to that verse. It tore people out as though they were uprooted palm trunks. The Quran uses this incredibly vivid image to describe what happened to the people of Ad. You can almost feel the raw power in those words, right? The complete undoing of something that seemed so strong, so immovable. It's a very dramatic place for us to begin our journey.
So, this brings us to our big question. How does a story about a destructive ancient wind become a mirror for our own soul? We're going to explore this on two levels. First, we'll look at the outer story, the story of a nation's pride, and then we'll dive deeper into the inner story of our own spiritual landscape. So let's start with that outer account.
Okay, so first things first, let's look at the literal story. The Quran paints this really sharp, clear portrait of a people called Ad. And their story is, it's a classic case study in what happens when incredible strength turns into blinding arrogance.
And what's fascinating is how precise the Quran is, highlighting three key details. First, their arrogance. It wasn't that they were confused. They rejected guidance out of sheer pride in their own strength, their own self-assurance. Second, the punishment itself, a wind. An invisible, uncontrollable force. The Arabic term used, rihun sarsaran, is so specific, it describes a wind that is freezing, piercingly loud, just relentless. And third, the result, they became like uprooted palm trunks, losing every single thing that anchored them to the earth.
And here's something really interesting. The Quran keeps asking this question again and again. So how was my punishment and my warnings? This repetition, it's not just to scare you, it's pointing to a fundamental law of existence. Unchecked arrogance always has consequences. Always. Both out there in the world and deep within our own souls.
All right, now let's pivot. Let's turn inward, because this is where the story completely transforms from a historical account into this powerful, living map of our inner world. For the great spiritual masters, this whole story isn't just about something that happened way back when. No, it's playing out inside of us, right here, right now. And this slide really lays it out perfectly. You see the shift in perspective, right? The outer storm, that physical wind that tore people from the earth, becomes this incredible metaphor for the inner storm, those unseen forces in our lives, the crises, the challenges that come and just strip away our false sense of strength and bring the ego back down to size.
So here's the first huge correlation, the key insight. According to the great scholar Al-Qur'ān, the nation of Ad is the human ego. The nafs. It represents that part of us, in its inflated state that boasts, I got this, I am strong, I am totally secure.
So then what's the wind? Well, the great master Ibn Arabi explains that these winds are the events in life we just can't see coming. A sudden loss, an unexpected failure, a health crisis. These are the winds of reality. They come to test what our lives are really built on. They reveal whether our foundation is in something real or just in our own ego.
And Rumi, of course, takes this even deeper. He connects those uprooted trunks to the collapse of our false identities. You know that job title you thought defined you? That social status you clung to so tightly? The story you've been telling yourself for years about who you are? The wind of life comes along and shows that these things can be hollow trunks, rooted only in the self.
The Quran calls it a day of continual misfortune. But on the inner path, that day isn't just 24 hours. It can be a week, a month, sometimes even years. It's that long, uncomfortable period where it feels like everything you rely on, everything you're certain about, is being challenged and stripped away. It's like a spiritual winter.
And remember that repeating question, so how were my warnings? Well, from this inner perspective, as Imam Rabbani Sirhindi points out, an ego collapse, it never just happens out of the blue. It is always preceded by warnings. Little nudges, small failures, those quiet anxieties in the back of your mind. These are all opportunities to soften up, to realign before the big wind arrives.
And get this, there's another beautiful hidden layer of meaning right inside the word itself. In the mystical abjad system, where letters have number values, the name Ad adds up to 3. And what does the number 3 symbolize? Expansion, outward assertion, the very essence of the ego's nature. How amazing is that?
So you see, this ancient story, it's not just about them way back then. It's about us, right now. These verses are a powerful invitation to take a good, honest look at our own inner landscape, to see where the people of Ad might be living inside our own hearts.
So let's just take a moment here. Let's reflect. Ask yourself, where in my life have I maybe stopped listening because I feel too capable, too certain, too self-assured?
Now, let's flip the perspective. What if the challenges you're facing right now aren't meant to punish you at all? What if they are a mercy? A wind that's been sent to strip away a burden you don't even know you're carrying, just to set you free.
And what about your identity? You know, we all have them. I'm a manager, I'm a parent, I'm an artist. Which of these roles have you maybe mistaken for the essential core truth of who you are? What would happen if that role was suddenly taken away?
And finally, think about those warnings we talked about. Where can you feel a subtle wind already blowing in your life, signaling a change that, if you're honest, your ego is fiercely resisting? Just acknowledging it, that's the first step toward humility.
Because, you know, arrogance today isn't about building giant pillars. It's much quieter, much more modern. It's that subtle whisper in our heads that says, I'm good, I can handle this on my own. I don't need help. I don't need guidance. But the wind comes for every ego, eventually. And the mercy in all of this is that only what is false is uprooted.
So with all of that in our hearts, let's close with a way to really integrate this wisdom into our lives. Let's turn it into a simple prayer, a conversation with the source of all reality.
O Allah, remove from me whatever keeps me distant from you. Uproot the arrogance I cannot see. Let your wind cleanse me, not break me. Let me stand only on what is real. Ameen.
And that really leaves us with this final, powerful thought. The storm, the challenge, the crisis. It isn't just destruction. It's a clarification. Because when that wind has finally passed, the only thing left standing is that which has true substance, true weight, and true roots in reality itself. So the question for all of us is, what in your life would be left standing?